She was convicted of murder more than 20 years ago, but tonight attorneys fighting for a battered woman's freedom say there's a lot we haven't heard about her story of abuse and desperation.
If she had been charged appropriately, she would have served a maximum of 6 years in prison. Instead, by the time we took her case, she had already been in for 20 years.
He lied. He perjured himself on the stand, and the DA's office has kept it secret.
That matters under civil litigations. We're not going to discuss that.
Get me out of here.
Free Debbie now! Free Debbie now!
Wow, this is a documentary that's really a roller coaster of emotion. It's called Crime After Crime. The filmmaker, we're so happy to have him in studio today, Yoav Potash, to talk about the latest about this documentary. And I know maybe you may be a little bit, I don't know, not embarrassed, but a little bit, I'll say it. It's won so many good reviews, excellent reviews from everything. People have been talking about this documentary.
Yeah, I'm proud. I'm not embarrassed.
Okay, good.
I'm happy to boast.
Good, and as well as you should, we're talking about the Sundance Film Festival, the Heartland Film Festival. Lots of people are talking about crime after crime and really how hard-hitting it is when it comes to this documentary. Can you kind of just give us a summary of what this is all about?
Sure. The film follows the legal battle to free Deborah Piegler from prison. She is a woman who was sentenced to life in prison for her connection to murdering the man who had abused her and forced her into prostitution. And that side of the story, the abuse, the prostitution, was never looked at when she was prosecuted. So 20 years later, two relatively young, right out of law school, land use attorneys volunteer to try to fight to get Deborah out.
Already when she's been in prison for 20 years.
Yeah, they begin once she's already served 20 years. And at first, they just want to prove that she was abused and that the court should look at that, because California in 2002 became the first state in the nation to have a law that allows women like Deborah to reintroduce that evidence if it wasn't looked at back when they were prosecuted. And of course, for her being prosecuted in 1983, we didn't have a whole lot of consciousness around domestic violence and abuse at that time. It's come a long way since then, but California is the first state to say, wait a minute, we need to look back at these old cases and let these women have a chance to present the evidence in court. So that's what the attorneys began to work to do, and then along the way they discovered many other issues of prosecutorial misconduct, and it became a very controversial, high-profile case.
This documentary really takes you through a range of emotions that we talked about: sadness, anger, hope in there too.
Absolutely. I mean, Deborah and her family had to maintain faith, had to maintain hope that she would be free, which is difficult to hold on to when you've been in prison, separated from your loved ones for so long. But Deborah also was doing everything she possibly could to make the most of her life from behind bars. She was the leader of the gospel choir in prison, a church leader, also worked in an electronics manufacturing plant behind bars, and earned 2 college degrees from behind bars. So she just, I think, realized at some point while she was in prison, the only way I can survive in here is if I do everything I possibly can to make my life better.
Or you'd go crazy.
Or you'd go crazy, exactly.
Wow, okay, so this, last night, you guys were able to film it, right?
We showed it at the Austin Jewish Film Festival. The Jewish connection to this story, obviously Deborah is African-American and she's a devout Christian, but one of the 2 lawyers in the film is an Orthodox Jew. And so they're sort of polar opposites, which I think in a way makes the film a little bit more fun, because at first you don't think they have anything in common, and yet you realize they do, because this man, the lawyer, the Jewish man who represents Deborah, he reveals during the film that when he was a child, his mother was abused, and that he was a witness to that, and he didn't even realize when he volunteered to represent Deborah, he didn't even realize that that had anything to do with it.
And then all of a sudden, all those emotions just come up and come into play in this documentary that is getting so many great reviews. And if you missed the screening last night, don't worry, because the great thing about this is that you can order it on DVD now.
That's right. That's right. crimeaftercrime.com is our website. It's also streaming on iTunes, and it will be on Netflix and everything else. People can order it and pre-order it right now. It will actually start sort of playing on your small screen on April 24th. But people can go ahead and get it in their Netflix queue or their iTunes queue.
Awesome.
Or just order the DVD and have it to own.
All right, this documentary took 6 years in the making, and you can tell just by the quality and the amazing story that is behind it. I hope you come back and talk about your next project next time.
I'd love to. Thanks, Allie.
All right, thank you. We'll be right back.